Did not mean to do that. Discord. I'm right.
We're in this together. All of us.
So, we're gonna go through Ilios and King's Row. Gibraltar for us was kind of just a wash at this point, and I think we were all just boomed. Oh, excuse me. But either way, gonna go through your play and see what we can do a little bit better.
3, 2, 1. Round 1. Capture. Let's get this done.
So you're gonna want to play back a little bit. You don't want to go up this. Yep, good.
Not so fast.
Making it up onto that high ground. See, if you were to make it up to the high ground, this doesn't take you out of the fight as long. And with you not being out of the fight, we actually may be able to poke out a little bit more than what we have been. Yep, just time for you to get out. Brother, you get that pick. You get that pick. There's no way that you do not finish that. Even with the Susie, you could have hit him first. Like, even if it's a 30 charge, he was low enough that you just tap him once and he's dead.
Breaking them down.
Which, yes, he gets back fast, but with him dying that late in the game,
That feels much
we still get to
better.
the fight quicker at this point. He's just now spawning. He's just now making a rollout. He gets back to the fight a few seconds late. That's a few more heals that they don't have. Okay, you see the Reaper shooting top left. You go to clear him out. That's good. So, something that I kind of discussed with Snake a little bit when I did his VOD review was... this is kind of a bad not necessarily a bad example. It's a good example on their part, but bad on ours. So what they're doing is they're kind of creating this crossfire here, right? We're pushing in, their Ram, their Reaper, and their Lucio are playing to the right back here, while their Kiriko is playing a little bit to the left. She's eventually probably going to TP over there, but their Sojourn is playing all the way over here. Now with the Sojourn playing all the way over here, the bulk of us, how a normal team... Maybe most, I'd say a lot of teams, comp, whatever, etc. Most teams, how they're going to react, they're going to go for the bulk of the team, instead of going for the Sojourn that's playing back here. The reason they do that is because one, they would have you to poke the enemy Sojourn out, but also the fact that this entire space right here, they would have to expend CDs, still take poke from their team while still chasing you down, right? So this is a great way of how you should be positioning and trying to take a little bit more of an off angle compared to what we kind of have a tendency of doing often is we all stack up and we all shoot the same way. So let's take this entire space in front of us, right? Where following the Reaper, let's say all 5 of them are over here by this Reaper and all 5 of us are over here by me. The issue with this is it's gonna depend on one. I mean, sometimes the tank matchup, but also who's hitting their shots more and getting more value out of their CDs. Most of the time, that's gonna be a neutral fight, though, right? And with that being a neutral fight, some people use CDs. It starts to create this ebb and flow. We use Javelin Spin to push up. They kite back. When they kite back, Javelin spins up, they start to push forward. They, let's say, throw Ram slow out, or they put a shield forward, something like that, right? When they do that, that then switches the ebb and flow back to them. Now they're pushing forward and we're backing up, okay? Let's say we have ults, right? Let's say the pressure is down, we use beat, we start to push forward again. They kite back. When they kite back, they wait out beat a little bit. We get space, we get percentage points. Maybe we're now where the Reaper is, but they're back here in this room. What then happens is they push forward, and then it's again this back and forth of ebb and flow. This is constantly how Overwatch is played, right? So the issue is this stalemate isn't going to be broken until someone gets a pick. However, this straight up is it's would you rather have a 50-50 of 5 players looking at 5 players, somebody throws a good cooldown out, gets a pick, right? That then changes the fight from 50-50 now to like a 75-80, 75 or 80 over 20-15, something like that, right? So basically what I'm trying to get at here is that when we're fighting them straight up like this, we need to try and take a little bit of a side angle. So how to explain, I guess a better purview of this would be not necessarily going on a flank. For Snake, this was a little easier to explain this because for the most part, he's going to want to play by me or the other tank, whatever, since he's playing the Reaper. An off angle for him might look like, he actually does it, I think, in this fight later on. But I start pushing forward here, and what he does is wraps around this way and starts poking them from here, which completely tears, he starts ripping into their ram, and we win the fight based off of a really good flank that he made. But it's like a slight off angle. It's not necessarily flanking him going all the way back here and trying to get something. It was just a slight off angle to put pressure because, again, let's put ourselves in the ram put ourselves in the Ram shoes. His entire purview is he sees Kiriko, he sees Lucio, he sees Orisa, right? He's not going to see a Reaper that's over, again, same view as this, but let's say right here, poking him from the side. If he uses, let's say he's a Nemesis form, and he's using block, he's blocking the majority of this damage from the 3. However, from the Reaper, he's not, which is then going to force him to kind of go back and forth like this to block or, UCDs. It's splitting his attention, which is kind of what I want you to do. And when you're taking these fights, you want to be on the side, but you still want to be close enough to get support from us, as well as being able to kite back into us if you get forced out. So an example I would use of this is kind of a bad scenario right here, but maybe not necessarily. So if you were to come up here, and you play this top rooftop, you got the Reaper right here, you got the Kiriko right there. If I keep pushing into this ROM, that's pushing the ROM right into your sights. You can still get good damage here, right? Now let's say the Reaper forces, starts to push you. He TPs up here, you start backing up this way, preparing for him to come up. He comes up, what you can do, you just drop down and look where you're at. You're in your team again, right? I know this seems like very fundamental stuff, but it seems like that's kind of something one of the issues we're having quite often is that we're just taking this fight in the most literal sense head on, right? We want to be trying to take more off angles here, which again, you and Snake both have a tendency to just group up on your Orisa and focus what the Orisa's focusing, which can be good, but it can also be, it's kind of like higher risk, higher reward. Instead of going into that 50-50 fight where we're just going to run straight at them, you're now changing the odds to like a 55 or like a 60-40, right? By coming up here. Because then that's going to split their attention. Let's say that Reaper pushes you, that leaves the Ram to be free. Our Reaper's with me, we chase down this Ram. That Ram's going to get burnt a lot faster and put less pressure on us because I don't have a Reaper shotgun in my face. Hopefully this makes sense. Kind of a key point, but that's what I'm going to try to hammer home and kind of show you on these maps different angles that you can try to take in order to make that happen. So we're going to slow it down a little bit. Okay, once that ram pops the corner, I start backing. Not going this far forward. This is way too far forward and so easy for you to get punished here. All it took was their Sojourn doing a little bit of the same poke you were doing and firing that rail shot. It's not like I was playing in front of you. I was playing literally in you to right next to you, right?
Not so fast.
Okay, so now you have your ult. How are we going to use the ult? So I talked about this again in the VOD review I did with Snake last night. But between you, Wavy, and Snake, all three of you do this, is that we hold on to overclock for so damn long. And the issue is, I think, is we're looking for more of that perfect value setup, which it doesn't need to be, right? It's obviously the rail shot is a lot less lethal because it can't one shot anymore. I don't know if overclock the ult one shots or not. I don't think it does, even with a headshot. But either way, just you using overclock is going to be good at the beginning of a fight because you're still putting consistent damage down. Even if you're not getting the picks, as long as you're putting that consistent damage, we're going to start following up on it, right? And that's kind of the big thing to note here is that when we have overclock, we should be trying to use it more as at the beginning of the fight more than the late fight. You know, using it in the late fight is more seems to be more often how we use it, and it makes it more look like a desperate trying to clutch out a situation, you know, down 1, down 2, etc. Need to, you know, we're going to use it to see if we can get, you know, pull something back, right? Which I'd prefer us just to, you know, use it as the engagement, start getting people, you know, more low, force cooldowns, which if that happens and we're forcing those cooldowns, that's just going to make it easier for us, you know. If let's say they use Fade on the Reaper, that's going to make us that much easier for us to try, you know, to burn them down quickly. If they use Suzu, if they use Amp, if they use Slide, if whatever, right? That's anything that forces those cooldowns is still going to be worth for us. So that's how I kind of want us to open up this fight with the ult. I believe you just joined. But after this VOD review's done, definitely go back to the start and watch up to this point, because there was there is some stuff that I had talked about that I really want you to watch and pay attention to.
Let the Kitsune guide you.
Good.
You're falling apart. Double. Nothing a quick repair won't fix.
So we're gonna go back and take this from a different angle here. One, I mean, we already see the Reaper playing right there. What we did call for was the Kiriko and the Reaper ult, because Snake was in position up here. He wanted to drop down, get the Kiriko ult, and Death Blossom. I think this is just us learning the comp a little bit more, but I think how we should be opening this fight is with the Sojourn ult, right? So we're going to slow it down. We start to push in. Kiriko ult, Death Blossom. So again, this is something I talked about earlier in the video, but if you're playing over here and, you know, we open up with Rail instead of this, that might force their position further back over here, which if that's the case, Snake might see that and rotate around here. If he does, he drops down in Death Blossom, knowing that they now don't have a Suzu, let's say, because you forced that out.
You're falling apart. Ah, thanks.
I think we can use some good vibes.
Okay. We hear them going left. Where you should be playing is, again, probably somewhere over here by the well. By doing this, you're setting up that crossfire that when they push in, if they, let's say they start making a beeline for you, all you got to do is slide back this way towards where you are now, and you're already back within our team, right? Instead of playing like this, where it's just that head-on fight. Rotate. We throw slow. This is a good slow.
Now.
Meet your fate.
Target down.
Kill. Probably just a little bit too far. Definitely a little too far forward there.
Hitting the ground running. Not so fast.
We are outnumbered. Careful.
Clear out.
Probably should have slowed a little bit earlier there. By using that slow, it's going. I mean, obviously, it's going to slow them from pushing forward, giving us time to use B. Unlucky.
This ends now.
One. Round two. Capture the objective.
Great TP. Great TP. Alright, so yes, we did call to go to point. However, when you're playing Sojourn, it doesn't necessarily always mean you need to go to point. Again, I'm not faulting you for this here, just because that was the call made, and we haven't really talked about how our DPS should be positioning a little bit differently. Because like I said, we have just been stacking up on one another, and that's how we've been, taking most of these fights. So again, what you could have done differently is, we met them right here when we started poking. Either you can fake a rotation so that you sit in here, let the team rotate through. Once they see the team, they're going to start rotating to them. You pop out right here and look at this beautiful view that you have right here. Oh, Lucio. Oh, Sojourn, Kiriko. Oh, Ram and Reaper. All of them lined up for you to take out, right? They want to turn their attention towards you. That's fine. It's going to force more cooldowns out of them. That's going to force, maybe a TP out of the Reaper. That's going to force a Wraith out of the Reaper, a speed boost or amp, any kind of amp from Lucio. That's going to maybe a slide from their Sojourn if she wants to take the Ego duel, that kind of thing. That's still going to force more things out of them. And with you sitting, pretty decently back here, all you got to do is either you back or you still have slide available. You slide up to the bridge or this top area where you're still in the fight. You still start poking out from here, right? Again, I'm not faulting you on that rotation because that was the rotation that was called, and we haven't really worked on a difference in how our DPS should position. However, anytime that we're playing this brawl comp and you get to play something like a Kree, a Soldier, an Ashe, a Sojourn, any kind of hit scan that we're going to be playing with the brawl, you don't always need to follow the same rotations, but you need to still play safe, right? Or still close enough that we can still back you up and enable you, support you, etc. So we'll keep going.
If they won't quit, neither will I.
Maybe it doesn't slow. I don't know. So we start pushing in here. Good. So you do have slide available. Again, you don't have to be stacked up like this, all facing forward trying to kill them, right? This could mean you start to take this, you use slide to get over here to take this off angle over here if you wanted, up top over here. All, there's different areas that you could do instead of just poking out how you are currently. Good, which eventually you do. You have slide. You should have used slide and you slid the wrong way. We don't have control of points, so basically you need to think any of this is just bad for us. It's not going to be good because they can still follow up. However, if you were to slide back this way, we have all of this space to work with. Sliding back this way, you come back this, you'll get back here, you'll be a little bit more safe. Which, I don't know if you die here. Yeah, you do. And a little bit just slow on the reaction time there.
I'm not a fan of setbacks. Right here.
Oh, you want to hear this?
We are falling apart.
You don't need to touch point, man. You can shoot in. Perfect time to use alt here. Great time to use it. Alright, well, we already used Kitsune. Probably don't use it here. I don't know why you went in. You didn't have to.
Cybernetics regulated. Come on, Vivian. Get yourself together.
But see what I mean? We're already at last fight, and we haven't even used overclock once. You got slide, man. You got slide.
Not so fast. This
Overclock.
ends
There
now.
you go. Slide, 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 slide. Good. Good. Unlucky.
Gonna need a new paint job after this. Thanks.
Okay, I understand, and scrams if you need to answer a text or something, but for the most part in game, when don't just stand still, you want to try and take positioning here, so you still have those CDs available when the fight starts back up. So taking positioning on two high grounds like Snake did, on the opposite high ground to the left, something like that. Don't just sit here on point, because being here on point, one, it doesn't really give you a safe exit to back if they hard engage like they're about to here. They push on, you're a sitting duck, right? Instead of being out here utilizing the space that we currently have by being up here, you get all of this poke right here. They start to push forward, you still get poke on their crossing, yada yada yada. It's not your job to touch point. For the most part, that's going to be me, Fungi, or Snake that's going to be touching point. It doesn't have to be you. If we need you to, we'll call it. But for the most part, it doesn't need to be you. You just need to focus on getting your picks. And being here on point is a lot less likelihood of you getting a pick, where instead you could be charging rail as they're coming through, as they're rotating, you're charging rail. Oh look, they're at point, you have 100% rail, boom, you get a headshot on the Kiriko, we win the fight, right? Oh, I didn't even explain the other thing I wanted to talk about. With you being on point here, when they int in like this, most of the time you're just going to look to back, and if you start backing and then they force slide, you're not going to be able to slide anywhere. You're going to be able to slide forward maybe a little bit, and you land where you are currently, if not a little bit further forward, and that's still within their purview of coming to kill you, or if you're back here, they're going to wrap around and chase after you, or you're just stuck in here, something happens with the ability you messed up, compared to being up here, where, one, you're kind of free up here, unless the Reaper jumps on you, the Lucio jumps on you, or, again, the Sojourn takes the duel or gets a good shot, right? Otherwise, you're free up here. So being up here is good. I don't know why you go in, man. You definitely do not need to be here on point. It's definitely a pattern that I'm starting to notice, which is good because that's how we're learning, is by noticing these patterns and starting to correct them. That's definitely something on Sojourn that you're not utilizing correctly, is some of the big issues, because I'm not here to critique your aim. Like, you want a coach to critique your aim, congrats, they can do that and tell you different aim styles, they can tell you to do different aim labs, whatever, etc. I'm not going to do that. I picked you up because I trust your aim enough. It's the stuff that we're going to be working on is the positioning, is how you should be approaching a fight, is your CD usage, all this kind of stuff, who you're focusing. Just the aiming part, that's like 5% of Overwatch. The rest of it, that's what I'm here to teach you. I'm not here to teach you anything about aiming. But if, like I said, with that pattern of slide, which in some metas that's sometimes some metas that is how you use it. Like, I'm thinking of mainly the Winston, Reaper, Sojourn, Kiriko, Lucio. That was in the grand finals, that comp. That's how Proper, that's how Edison were using it. However, we're not playing that comp, right? And that's definitely not a style that you should be using. They're going to be looking to jump on you and kill you, obviously. So using that slide as your ability to get away is more important than jumping in. And you're playing a mid to long range hit scan, more heavily leaning on the mid range. You don't need to be up in their face to do damage. Like, you're just putting yourself at more risk by getting a mouthful of shotgun shells from a Reaper, right? So play a little bit more back. Try not to use the slide to go in as much. And then the other thing was positioning and your tendency to stack on tanks and the team in general. Need to cut that out. If not cut it out, but like be a little bit more risky, take a little bit more off angles. The more off angles that are safe. There's a difference between off angles that are safe, off angles that are just shit, and then flanking, right? I want you to take those safer off angles. And I can, approaching a fight, I will try and show you as best as I can of those angles where it could be a little bit more better. And it's just something that's something that I want you to start thinking about going into scrims, going into games, whatever, is how can I take a slightly safer off, not slightly safer, but what's the safest off angle that I can take, that I can still get back to my team, I can still be supported. So I'm going to try to show you those as much as I can coming up on King's Row. I did a little bit on Ilios, but... Alright, I need to get something to drink real quick. Give me like a minute or two, because my throat is dry as fuck right now. If you have any questions, ask now while I'm up. All right. Okay, here we go.
Listened to your album the other day.
Oh, did you like it?
Not sure there was enough bass.
Five, four, three, two, one. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Supplies out there. Thanks for the help.
Okay, we're gonna start this off how it is. So originally we called the rotation to go this way. Nothing wrong with that. However, you got slide, man. This is the time where you can use slide to get up here. This is, I dare say, even a safer angle than what you're currently playing, and you don't need the speed to follow our, you need to stay in speed to move forward, right? You have your slide that you can get up here. You're up here. Oh, look, Reaper. You can poke out the Reaper. Up here, you can poke out the Orisa, whatever else. You're basically going to the same spot. You're just using your CD to get there. However, the only bad thing I will say in doing something like that, if they're running a dive comp, is as soon as you use that, that's when you get fucked, right? So, but currently with what they're running, absolutely use slide to get up here. You can start poking them while our team rotates through and comes out. You might even get a pick. Okay, you need to be careful here when you're poking this hard. We're down multiple people. Again, we're starting to rotate through hotel. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to. You can keep staying this angle, because what's going to happen is with us pushing out to here, what they're going to do instinctively, oh shit, their tank might push forward up to here, but their backline is going to start rotating this way, leading right into your sight line. Which I don't know if you're about to stay here or not, or you go through hotel, but I mean, we're about to find out. Which you do eventually. Again, I still would have held that angle hard. Definitely at a disadvantage here. When they use Kiriko ult, you should just be getting out, because that Sojourn is going to ramp up her rail and fry you as soon as possible. Gotta be careful with that poke, man. Any of these staggers adds more time onto their clock. Like I get the need for the feeling of, hey, I need to try and get a pick to, give us a leg up in the next fight or something like that. If we're down that bad, we didn't get any picks onto them, just don't peek it. It's nice if you can, but if you're already, half HP, don't peek it. Good attempt, that's fine. Yep, good. Kite. Don't need to be poking it this hard. Yep, there you go. Poke right there. Poke from right there.
Nano boost is ready. Get in there and I'll hit you.
Breaking them down.
Nano boost administered.
Good. Glad you're keeping an eye on behind.
Thanks. Taking the point.
Good.
Fall into you.
Yeah, I'll turn it up.
Ahlan?
60 seconds. Efficient design at work. Objective A. Not so fast. Healing sound, watch 'em. Breaking them down. At your finest hour. You're falling apart. This ends now.
I remember you talking about the shield being there. You didn't know. It's fine.
I'm not a fan of setbacks. Not so fast.
Getting careful with that poke, man. Wait for your tank if you need to.
This ends
Good. Good. These are just stagger kills.
We are falling apart. Cybernetic innovation at its finest.
Okay, coming into this fight, you do not need to be here. You should be trying to set up for a better position. So, better position that you could be anywhere up here on this high ground. If we are expecting a recontest, I think this is a great place to start. Once they start pushing in and you feel like this is a little too open for you, you have this high ground over here that you can back to. Again, if they start to push you, you have multiple different options to back. You have these stairs to back up to, you have this alley to back up to, even coming back over here if you feel like it's safe enough, back to your team on car. You have plenty of options if they try to recontest.
Breaking them down.
Which they don't.
Sails empowered and ready to fire. Clear out.
Okay, we kite, good.
Not so fast. Sails and charge.
Yep, play that right side of car.
Well done.
Again, taking space, preparing for the next fight. You definitely do not prepare for your fights well, in general, right? Preparing for your next fight, you're up here, you're up on this left high ground, either one of these, because you being up here costs them resources when they push out to excuse me, whether that's a Reaper teleport, whether that's, let's say they switch to a dive tank, that's them using movement CDs to get on you. You positioning yourself well into a next fight means you will have your CDs back and they'll use theirs, and when they use theirs, you have the CD advantage, right? You have that advantage by being up there. Again, you just shot at it, that's where you should be. We don't need 5 on car right now. We need to set up for the next fight. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at for this next one. On to the next point is how you're setting up your fights and how you should be setting up your fights. Okay, so again, starting right here. If you want to set up right here to poke out, that's fine. You have all this view. Just again, be prepared for a widow possibly. You can be up here. I'm fine with you being down on the low ground for now. It's going to be later on in some different parts of the map that I want you to. Currently, we're looking to just be up in their face and brawl. Actually, no, that wasn't what the call was made. Where was our Anna? I believe our Anna was... Yeah. Okay, so the call that was made was we want to try to go for an anti-play once they push through hotel onto here. So how do we force them into this? This is kind of almost like, again, I'm not a hunter at all, but this is kind of like trying to trap your prey, right? How you do this is you're poking them out through here, possibly even you're positioned up here once they don't have a widow. Okay, I can peek out more freely, peek out. You're trying to force them into hotel. That means you're possibly even forcing, using your cooldowns, maybe like using your slow to go right here. Okay, we can't go that way for a second. Let's just go this way. They start pushing this, maybe go down main. Tuster's his out. Okay, let's go this way. Eventually, it's going to pop out right here. And when they're right here, this isn't where you want to be. Where you want to be is up on this high ground, poking from afar. Getting your rails in and just popping off, right? So that was what the play that was made, was to play right there. You could even be playing up here with the Ana, and because once they start pushing through here, if you're playing up here, I mean, you're just fragging on them right there, right? You're just frying them as much as possible. So different ways you could set up. Good, you force Wraith. Okay, we have 4 people watching these 2 doorways. You don't really need to be watching right here. Again, different angle you could take would be pushing back up to here. Maybe on point right here. This is still safe. This is a different angle to play that's safe because, one, you're still watching all of this on the right, but if they start to push out left, you can see that, call it. You then slide back towards your team this way. Maybe you slide up to the high ground. Whatever you're doing, you're still comfortable here. Or let's say, we make the call to go hard, right? And our team starts to push in. Once our team starts to push in, eventually their backline is going to start sliding out. When they do, again, free picks. Too far out. Way too far out. You don't have to peek. You don't have to be all the way out here to do damage. You can be right here. You can. It's slightly, but you could be a little bit of a different, tiny jiggle peeking more than out in the open as hard as you were.
I'm not a fan of setbacks.
Yeah. Yep, you're just looking to get out. And I'm fine with you positioning here. You're doing some poke. I still prefer the high ground up there, comparatively. You can't really use your slide out here as effectively as you could in open space. And you being up here, you're still poking them out from here. You have all of this sight line compared to, I know you're right there now, but compared to in here where it's, you have a little bit of a crevice to look through compared to up here where you still have this hard cover right here or maybe right here, and you're still poking down and you have this long sight line that you can abuse. Again, small, different, safe angles that you're playing that's away from the team, but still close enough to follow up for support if you need it, right? And it's putting you in a better position than you currently are. You're having to jiggle peek this constantly when if you're up here, well, you're jiggle peeking. How you're jiggle peeking here is fine. It's just that you have a narrow view every time you peek compared to up here where it opens it up a little bit more when you jiggle peek. But that's another little angle as an example. I don't know why you're pushing this far forward. That 4-star shield out of our tank, which is something that we need to close the gap with. Because remember, if you die here, that just ruins all of this. Because if you were to die right there, that gets their cart almost probably where this slow is, the ram slow right there, before we even take another fight. Because then we're down another person as soon as our Reaper gets back. And if that's the case, you know, we just keep backing every time. We're not taking a good fight. You're being way too aggressive forward. Way too aggressive being forward when, if you're going to be doing this much poke, you need to take a different angle, like that high ground on the top left. Yes, they'll see you and everything, I get that, but you still have a chance to back up, get some healing before they even try and push you.
Nanoboost administered.
Shouldn't have died there. Because you dying here, we're still down 2 people. We still need to back up. We can't take any consistent space like that works. If you don't die there, with 4, we could still relatively hold this area. You know, we might even be able to play up here. Or since you have overclock in particular, you're the only ult we have. By you playing up here, we still control this. And if they start to push in hard, we use overclock. We try to force them back as we're kiting, since we're still down 1. But you dying here means we have to back up all the way over here. Another angle. Again, you're playing that same thing, taking a safe angle. Could be up here. Could have even before this Sojourn decided to do this. Maybe not up here. That's a risky angle. That's very ego. Would be either taking something up here, mainly on this high ground. That's probably the big one. Instead of being low, where the Ramatra can start pummeling you as soon as he pushes forward. Taking this next fight, I was fine with you staying over here, because as soon as you do, you pop out, you're free over here, you kite back to the box if you need, they start pushing you, you have plenty of time to get out, right? Instead of just walking forward with the rest of your team like this. Or, since the cart's right here, you go right above you.
ground running. You're falling apart. Disrupting.
You want that louder?
Okay, again, positioning for the next fight. Let's see if you do it. Good, you do.
Hey,
That's where I would have wanted you to be, or on the higher ground that's above to your left.
breaking them down.
Either one would have been fine. However, the call was to use NanoRam and go around the corner as soon as we see them. You being back this far, you're not putting in any damage. You're having to use CDs to go forward. Better position would be probably this box right here. As soon as we're ready, oh, you pop out the corner. You're doing damage, you're doing damage, you're doing damage. You drop down, you're still doing damage. Compared to back here, you're really far back. You're not doing any damage to anyone from back there.
Precision and control.
That's easier than wave. Get into it.
Not so fast.
Again, you're not positioning yourself well for this next fight. This is where you probably should be in the same spot I told you, or above on the top right. Definitely should not have used that. I know it doesn't really matter because we don't touch, but still.
If they won't quit. Clear heads.
Everything rendered. Okay.
Disrupting.
Again, same thing. I get it. I understand, and I'm not mad at you wasting it like that just because we didn't even get touched for it, right? Probably should have just used it a little bit earlier once they started pushing in, because that was the plan, was to use overclock. And even if it's, you're not going to get a first pick off of that, initial press alt and, oh, boom, dead. It doesn't matter. You're still doing that damage. You're forcing them to rethink and slow down if needed, which gives you time to react and start using your abilities, it creates more openings, right? We have a tendency not to use alts first, which is a big issue. In Overwatch, the person who uses alts first tends to be more of the victor than not, right? The old playstyle of playing more reactive isn't really a playstyle as much anymore. So again, with a different angle, the call was to go through hotel and push. Same thing for you. You don't necessarily have to. If you want, you could play this statue over here. You can play a little bit in front of the statue. Definitely a little bit more risky if you're right here, but you could, you're still poking out from here. All of this, right? And if you see a play like this where you want to set up, then you just call it. We don't have to go in right away. We still have a minute 30 to slow down and take a fight. You don't have, you can. Fuck if I know. Go. We rotate. We're all rotating. Oh, we sit by statue. All of us sit by statue, hiding. They're thinking, oh, we're just waiting our speed boost out because somebody fucked up. No, you're just coming up these stairs to have this view up here. Maybe you're jumping across. With them, our team starts to push in on their back line. You then have this angle, right? If you see a position where you can, if you see a play, call it. Once you call it, we'll try to make something work with it. Because even if me and Tusk call a play, it's most of the time it's just going to be what alts to use. It's not necessarily going to be the minutes of every detail of how to do it. We're just calling what ults should be used, because at the end of the day, those are your ults, and the person who's going to know when to use them best and how to use them should be you. You know, so if you want to set up a certain way, you need to start setting up a certain way. Say, hey, play slow here while I set up. I'll call when to go in, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be on us to call when to go in. So if you want to take over, take over. Or even if you don't have an ult, if you want to try and make a play where you're playing on a different angle, call the play, and we'll do it. Just try to communicate that plan with as little words as possible, so it's not a cluster.
Recalculating. We are falling apart.
Good, I'm glad you're not poking here, even if... Again, you don't need to come up straight through this way. Damn, I chugged that water. Playing a little bit too far forward here, because all it takes is them to speed at you. I know the Lucio's Taxi and the Sojourn here, but all it takes is to speed at you, force your slide up, you know, up here to force your slide, which, yeah, you slide back, you're still in our team. However, you land like somewhere like right here where our ram is, and if that's the case, then they're still going to have that amp to speed onto you. Then you're just relying on our speed to help you out, plus the rest of your team to help you out. So try not to play this far forward. Another thing that I explained to Snake, this is I'd probably say it's a little bit more on him to do this than you. But if this is something you want to switch up and go for to do this choke is very hard to get through. That's why most teams do this, is because there's not any flank angles to the right, minus coming all the way up here, walking down, and then walking behind. The only flank angles is up here, which is clearly seen from anyone playing back here. The other angle, which again, not a lot of people for some reason use, is this one right here. This leads all the way over here, and you have all of this. What I told Snake to do was, again, to break this choke, we need to force CDs, we need to force them to back away. We need to take space. Tanks aren't the only way to take space. Damage can take space just as easy. Well, maybe not just as easy. Can take space as well. It's going to be a little bit more difficult, right? So what I told him to do would be something like TP up here, he drops down, he fires a couple shotguns at Kiriko, Reaper, Ram, whatever. You know, maybe he does a significant amount of damage or gets a pick where they start to back up. You know, if he gets in trouble, he just wraiths out. What you could do instead, if, let's say, Snake's not going for that play, is rotate around this way and just start poking them out from here. Because if they start pushing you, slide. Slide back, you have that Mega on the left, you have your entire team on the right. Oh, excuse me. Either way, it's fine. You know, playing this angle.
Time's running out. Let's make it. This ends.
Okay, that... oh, not yet. We still have another attack. We're just going to speed through this then. I would like to go to bed.
Defend objective A.
Hustle up.
Same thing. I already talked about this on the first point.
We are falling apart.
I'll recap just in case you forgot. Again, you want to take a safer angle where you can still poke out. That could be up on this high ground. That could be up where our Ana is, whatever, out here. You don't necessarily need to be stacked, shoulder to shoulder with our tank. That's more of the Reaper than you. This is fine. Shoot the wall, shoot the wall, shoot the wall, shoot the wall. For Sojourn, it's really fun. It's really good to shoot the wall, because by you shooting the wall, you're building up rail as well as breaking the wall to help support if needed. Or for them to back up if needed, right? I would, again, we're still in really dangerous territory here. I would use slide to get up to the high ground here.
Recalculating. Disrupting.
Objective lost. Stop the payload.
Not so fast. Not so fast. Nail them powered and ready to fire.
Okay. That kind of spells the end of it. So we're going to do a little bit of recap here. And if you have any questions, just let's save it for after the recap. I'll try to explain when I can. Your slows, I think, I think for the most part are fine. There probably different times where you could be using them, but I'm not. That doesn't seem to be the biggest issue for your Sojourn play currently. I think it mainly revolves around how you're positioning, your slide, and your ult, which is everything else but the aiming, the rail, and the slow. Which 3 out of 6, not bad. So we'll talk about ult first. Ult, we can try to start using more as starting to open up a fight, doing that damage, even if it's not getting picks. That's fine. You're still doing a hell of a lot by ripping through them with the rails. So opening with that, even if you don't see something where it's like, oh, I'm gonna I can get a kill here, or this is the perfect time to use it. Even if it's, it doesn't have to be that in order for you to pop your ult. You popping your ult could mean it forces them to beat. It forces them to Suzu. It forces Wraith, Slide, whatever else. It buys space for us. It forces them back. That kind of thing, right? I think for the most part, that kind of covers ult. Slide is, at least on Ilios, you definitely seem to be using it way more to go in. Don't use it to go in. Try to use it as much as you can for repositioning and to get out. Someone's pushing on you hard, you're using that to get out. Don't use it to go in. You do not need to play Sojourn as this up in your face to short to mid range hit scan. Play it more as that medium range. That's where she excels the most and keeps her life while doing it. And then the 3 different angles that I was taking different angles that aren't with the team. Again, you're still with the team, you're just on a slightly different angle. There's the shit angles where it's just you're kind of out in nowhere that you get punished for. There's the flanks, which most of the time you're not really going to be doing. And then there's those safer angles that you can be playing to force attention away from your front line, or force CDs that normally you wouldn't be able to force by looking straight at them looking straight at you. I think that's kind of the big ones. Now, if you have questions, now's the time to ask, and I'll try to talk about it right now. So either you can do it on YouTube or you can do it via Discord. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Anything? It's so it's not necessarily that it's a risk. Here, let me. Yeah, that works. You said if they're pushing first point on kings and I play high ground on mega stairs, is it more of a risk? Right here, it's more of a risk in the sense that this is. It's not necessarily that this is a shit angle. It's just a more risky angle. Because they have all of this space to look at you. All of 5 of them can look at you here, while most of your team was playing down here, right? It's not necessarily that they can push you. I mean, yes, they can push you easier comparatively. It's less about that and more about the fact that you're away from your team. Because if you slide, let's say a Sojourn hits a good rail onto you, doesn't kill you but gets you crit, right? Either you're gonna, and they really start pushing you. They said, all right, fuck it, go on them. If they do that and they start pushing you, if you back up this way, eventually they're gonna meet up to you. You use slide. This is not a good location to use slide. You'll get the mega, but you're gonna die here. If let's say you drop off high ground and you slide this way, that's gonna be even better for them because that's gonna force them to use speed onto our team. And, just walk past everyone, because there's not much you can really do if they're walking past you. Yeah, sure, you can still look at the guy in front of you and shoot him. For, Fungi, Clover, Snake, me, or a Tusk can shoot them. But if they want to go after you, they're going to go after you. And you just use your biggest survivability tool to get out, right? And instead it comes over here, and they're just going to push past and kill you. And then that keeps them in the fight with everyone else that's around them, and they can still snowball it from there. And then the last one, which probably is the best one, is that you slide this way, and you're over here. However, they can still push you and come at you. It's just, this is a little bit safer, but I think I prefer either up here, or even maybe up here a little bit, or down here, kind of. You can play this if they don't have the Widow and everything. It's just definitely more of high risk. Oh, I know that was very long for your question. That was, in essence, a pretty simple question, but I wanted to make sure I covered it and explained why. Any other questions? I've already kind of talked about things to work on. But when it comes to our scrims this week, try to take these safe, slight off angles, right? Experiment with them. If you die, I'm fine with you dying in scrims. As long as we review it after and say, hey, this was a bad angle. We don't want to do this, and I explain why it was a bad angle and kind of show you. So take a little bit of those off angles. When we're using alt, try to use it as an initiator, much less of a mid-fight type of alt, right? And was there any more? Slide, don't be aggressive with slide. Use it as your escape, not to engage. Other than that, I'm going to try to work with you guys this week after scrims and such. Doing VOD reviews like this, you don't always have to be here to do it. I will still do it otherwise. If you have questions after, feel free to ask. But for Tusk, for Snake, for whoever I've coached in the past, most of the time they're not really here asking questions like you are currently. I'll still let you know and still send you the link every time I am streaming, but if you don't show up, it's no worries. Just make sure you're watching it and watching it back to get all the information that I talked about. Yeah, other than that, I think against this team, I'm not saying that we should be beating them. I'm just saying that with this DPS duel, I don't think there's a world where you don't beat Parsifal. Like, genuinely. Parsifal, Soggy, whoever. End of the day, I still think you beat them. You know, in the head-to-head matchup, I think you're better than them. We just need to start incorporating these different things to level up and improve your gameplay so that it's easier for them. Because it's not like they were doing it a lot, taking these smaller off angles a little bit. But they still had a few moments where they were, compared to you just stacking up with the rest of your team going in. It's going to be a lot easy. He's going to do a lot more work because of that than you are stacking up within the team. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to bed. Other than that, good job. And that's all I got.